I do econometrics. I have 1 BA, 2 master, 1 PhD. I've taught econometrics in 2 continents. And my mom still asks me, what do you do? I think she thinks that econometrics is a bad word. I keep asking, what do you do? And I try to tell her I use data to predict. I use data to find causal relationship. I use data to teach students what's better for them. But she always asks me, what do you do? And it's kind of funny because the reason why I do econometrics is also her fault. I'm from Sicily, and in Sicily we have a feature. We are from the south of Italy, and people in the south of Italy tend to be shorter than the people from the north of Italy. And she was very concerned about my height. And so what she did, she played the econometrician. She looked at data, and what she saw is that the probability of me being short was very high. And she thought, I have to do something about him. And then she gathered data, and the data she saw, she said, well, people playing basketball are tall. Well, then it's easy. He has to play basketball. So she forced me to play basketball since I was very young. Now, it wasn't a very successful career. I'm here, otherwise I would be playing. But she really was a case for a clear mistake that we tend to do when we use data. We use correlation in a really bad way. The reason why people who play basketball are tall is not because stretching your arms in the air is going to make you taller. The reason is the opposite. It's just playing basketball is easier if you are tall. That's why you see tall people who play basketball. And also, remember, if you want to predict whether somebody is going to play basketball or not, height is going to be a really good predictor. But the problem is the correlations. These sort of correlations are very dangerous. They're very dangerous because sometimes they're really used in bad context. For instance, this is a famous book that is still today, after almost 20 years, is generating a lot of debate in the United States. The main point of this book is the more guns you have, the safer people are going to be. And the idea is if everybody has a gun, nobody's going to shoot at each other. Okay? You can defend yourself, and since you can defend, nobody's going to try to kill you. And the argument of this book is actually used on a very faulty correlation. And the correlation is highlighted in this graph. I produced this graph yesterday. You have data, the same data that the book uses. And the idea is what you see here is you can divide the American states into states where it's easier to have a gun and states where it's less easy to acquire a gun. And you can see the orange bar. The orange bar are the number of crimes that happen in the states. So you can see that the orange bar are the crime happening in states where it's actually more difficult to buy a gun. And so the conclusion of the book is, well, if you make more difficult to buy a gun, you're going to have more crime. But this is actually the mistake that my mom made. The mistake was to think the correlation is causality. It's the other way around. In states where it's more difficult to buy a gun, there is probably more crime. Okay? So the two things, they go together, but they don't cause each other. So what we do, what econometricians do, that's what I tell my mom, is we're trying to establish causality. We're trying to go beyond correlation and trying to see what's going on. Now, this is very difficult. In order to do so, we have to use very statistical intensive technique that they're very difficult to understand. You can ask my students and they will tell you that they seem gibberish at times. Okay? But the good thing is that today, besides statistics, beside the techniques, what we can do is we can use technology. And technology can help us in actually finding better way, better data, better ideas. This is an example of how technology can help us actually trying to find relationships that are more causal, and finding this relationship is going to help us improve the planet. So anybody's going to know what this picture is? I'm going to help you. This is a picture from a satellite. Do you recognize the places? I'm going to help you. One is China. The other one is South Korea. The one in the middle that is in the dark is North Korea. Okay? So this is the picture of poverty. There is poverty, there is no light. So technology is being used now by the World Bank because one of the problems if you want to try to fight poverty is to find poverty. And until a few years ago, there was a very, very difficult endeavor to find where poor villages in Africa were, where the World Bank could actually help. Now, what the World Bank does is look at this picture. You look at this picture during the night, and by the lack of the light, can actually see where poverty is. Now, better technology can also be used actually to find causal relationship and to shed light on something that I think is always a problem in modern society, is discrimination. Okay? So one thing that is striking, this is taken from the Eurobarometer. This is a very important survey that asks every 3 months people in Europe what they feel about Europe itself, but also about social issues. And this question asks people, what do you think is the most widespread discrimination that you see in society? Now, the first one, 60%, more than 60% of people that are interviewed, they tend to say ethnic origin. And that's okay, we knew that this is a widespread problem. But the second reason, the discrimination with the highest number of people pointing it out is sexual orientation. Now, the other causes, there is a lot of study, for instance, about gender discrimination, but for sexual orientation, we don't know anything. We don't know whether, what are the causes, what are actually the extent of this sexual discrimination in society. So what I did a few years ago with our 2 colleagues, we said, okay, let's try to go and see whether we can say something about discrimination. Now, studying this issue is very complicated. The reason why there are not many studies is that we don't have surveys where people ask what is the sexual orientation. So you can really do any study. It's easy to do study about gender discrimination because you have a variable that says that you are a male or female. But there is no such a variable for your sexual orientation. So what we had to do, we had to be creative, and we had to use technology in order to do something that nobody else has done. So what we did, we basically create fake CVs. Okay? So these CVs were these people have fake studies, so they went to university or they went to high school. We generate fake lives. We generate many fake lives. And the difference between the CVs was one. Some of the CV randomly adds a sexual orientation identifier, and other CV didn't. So the sexual orientation identifier was you spent a period of time doing an internship in an Italian association that is linked with gay rights. It's archi-gay or archi-lesbian. Right? The other CV instead had either you spent a similar period of time in a normal company and to control for potential effect of not being adverse to archi-gay or gay and lesbian, but to be adverse to left-leaning organization. We also have people having fake stage internship into left-leaning organization. So what we did, we generate these almost 2,500 fake CVs, and we send them for 2 months to all the job offers that require no particular skill that are related to physical presence, physical appearance, anything that you can say may be related to some story about sexual orientation. So it was a very complicated technological endeavor. Then after we sent the CVs, we had 5 people with cell phones that were asking and they were getting how many calls we were getting back for an interview. Right? And what we found was very stark. So what we found is that if you are a male that has spent a period of time into one of these organizations, you are called back 30% less than the same CV, the same person with the same characteristic without CV. Okay? But what's funny was that European CV formats also require, or you can add a picture. So we had students from LUISS, where I teach, having pictures, and we had this picture randomly to the CV. Then we have a commission of people, independent people, who rated the beauty of the picture. And so we were also able to say what's the effect of your beauty and your appearance on the probability of being called back. And what we found is that you are a female who has a better look, you are 18% more likely to be called. Okay? Now, this is our important finding. Why these are important finding? Because they tell us that there is discrimination. Now, discrimination is not only a moral issue. I think it's a moral issue, but it's also an issue of economic efficiency. We don't like discrimination because that means that good people who are very good at doing their job, they are not getting the opportunity to do their job. Right? And so that's what econometrics does. But establishing causality, finding the extent of discrimination is only the beginning. Then what we have to do, we have to debate, we have to find agreement on what the cause, what the solutions are. I can tell you that there is discrimination, how we fix it. Somebody can say, well, but you're looking for discrimination in a specific market. We are looking for discrimination in Italy. Maybe there is no such a discrimination in other parts of Europe. That's true. But my job as an econometrician is the one to create a common ground between people. This common ground is shared, where everybody agrees on the basic facts. So we can have debates, we can talk, and we can agree on the solution later on. Of course, different people are going to have different preferences. They're going to try to find different solutions. But if everybody agrees at least on the causes, and everybody has a common ground, I think we can have a better informed discussion on things. And that's what I do, Mom. I do econometrics. Thank you.